What the resale market has started to figure out is that in a market where there's less buyer demand and buyers' number one pain point is affordability, you know what you do? You solve affordability with seller concessions. One rental at a time, community. It is Matt, the mortgage guy. I've got a couple things I want to share with you this week, even though Mike is gone and on vacation. One being there's less price reductions. Mike mentioned this. I don't know what the number is year on year, but it's down 4% or 5%, the number of price reductions. I think I know why, or at least I've got a reason that might give you a tell into why those numbers are down. Rates are also down. I want to talk a little bit about that. And I also want to talk about what the spring market will bring. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the Matt the Mortgage Guy YouTube channel. Connect with me and my team at greatmortgagebroker.com. So Mike talked about this, and I had something that came to mind as I was listening to the daily financial news about there being less price reductions in 2023. Mike mentioned it. I agree. It might have something to do with the velocity of rate change, right? In 2022, rates went really high, really fast, and it was a big shock to the market. People pressed pause. They were on hold on the buy side. Sellers had to reduce prices more so maybe than today, because 2023, while we have higher rates, if you look back 6 months or 9 months, they're only this much higher than they were 6 or 9 months ago. Whereas 2022, they went from 3 to 7, right? Saw a lot of, the speed in which they increased caused buyers to pause. But here's another thing to consider that I think about being somebody with boots on the ground, working with buyers every single day. What the resale market has started to figure out is that in a market where there's less buyer demand and buyers' number one pain point is affordability, you know what you do? You solve affordability with seller concessions. Seller concessions can pay for their closing costs. It can buy their rate down permanently. It can buy it down temporarily with a temporary buy down. And what probably doesn't go into that stat on price reductions is the cases that I see every single day. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you listed at $725, competitive, good price. And I can pay you $725. I just need $17,000 in seller credits to make my loan work. Now, that's a $708 net to the seller. And in all actuality, that's a price reduction. But if it's listed at $725 and sells at $725, it probably doesn't show up in that stat. So I bet you there's a lot of that stuff going on. And I say that the resale market learned from builders because that's exactly what builders do. Builders are really intentional about it. Think about if you're a builder and you own 50 homes and the market's softer than it was when you started building them, or softer than it was when you brought out phase one. If you've got a home for $700,000, you can bet your bottom dollar the builder is going to do everything in their power to not reduce the price of that home. If they reduce the price by $20,000, they're going to reduce the comp to the other 49 homes by $20,000. It's cost them $1 million when you times 20,000 times 50. So instead of that, they go, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, how would you like a 5.99 interest rate or a 4.99 interest rate? We're going to use this 20,000 in credit and buy your rate down. You're still going to pay 700 grand. We're not going to reduce it to 680. So that happens with new builds, and most people in the ORaaT community understand that. That's what's going on in resale. Is buyers are putting in offers at or near the list price, because sellers, quite honestly, if I'm going to give sellers and agents credit in this market, they're, most of them, intentional and smart about pricing. They understand how important it is to get pricing right the first time around. So they're pricing accordingly, and in most cases, a fair price. But even so, buyers want a little bit more, and they ask for 10,000, 15,000, 17,000 in credit, temporary buy down, closing costs, whatever it's going to be used for. That helps with affordability. So that is my hunch. Next, I want to talk briefly about interest rates. Today, as I'm recording this, Monday the 27th, we had a good day in interest rates. I think the 10-year Treasury, what was it at when I looked last? It was down 439, something to that effect. So interest rates are headed down. I've got a hunch, and this is where the one rental at a time community can take some actionable advice, and I think you guys will actually take it because you guys are the ones doing the work. Here we are, the last 5 weeks of 2023. There is a lot of deals being put together. We put 3 deals into contract just today in my office. And these deals that are being put together are with seller concessions. They're less than the original ask price. They're quote unquote deals that my buyers are finding. My fear is that next spring, when seasonality tells you there's going to be more buyers in the market, if we ignite that already uptick in buy side, action in demand with some lower interest rates continue to trickle down, it's going to be a lot more competitive market. And I warned people in 22 that early 23, you wouldn't see the same deals you saw in Q4 of 22. Some listened, some didn't. This year, I think it's going to be even worse. I'm not saying there's not going to be any deals to be found in 2024. I'm just saying don't take for granted the little bit of leverage you have as a buyer. There's going to be low inventory for years and years to come. There's no fix for that. The thing that will change and fluctuate is buyer demand. When rates come down, buyer demand goes up. With seasonality, buyer demand goes up and down. Up in the spring, down in the fall and winter. So if you've got the uptick of the spring and you've got an extra push uptick because interest rates are coming down, the spring buying season is going to offer a lot more optionality, a lot more flexibility, a lot less leverage for buyers. So if you're doing the work, go out there and find yourself a great deal. If you don't get it, cool. But don't take these last 5 weeks of the year off. There's going to be deals to be had that I promise you won't be available in March and April. So that's my crying call, one rental at a time. Continue to do the work, put the deals together. If you need our help, if you need to get pre-approved, we're happy to help. GreatMortgageBroker.com. I guess that's it. One last thing. Lighting. People are like, wow, it's fancy lighting. It's really nice. Like the dark Star Wars look. It's because it's getting darker earlier. So if I record this thing at 5:37, it's dark outside. I got no light coming into my office. Tis what it is. Have a great morning, evening, afternoon. Till next time.